There are moments in life when things begin to grow quiet and you don't know why. Conversations slow down, invitations stop coming, familiar voices fade, and you start asking yourself questions you never asked before. You wonder if you missed something, if you offended someone, if you somehow stepped out of alignment without realizing it. The silence feels personal, even when no one explains it. And because nothing dramatic happened, the quiet becomes more unsettling than noise ever was. Most people assume that when life becomes quiet, something has gone wrong. We are taught to associate movement with progress, attention with value, and connection with safety. So when God quietly pulls you away, the first instinct is to resist it, to fix it, to reach back for what feels familiar. But not every separation is loss, and not every quiet season is empty. Sometimes the quiet is not the absence of purpose, but the presence of protection. What many people don't realize is that God rarely announces when He is about to protect something valuable. He doesn't always warn you before He limits access. He doesn't always explain why certain doors close, or why certain people slowly drift away. From the outside, it looks like isolation. From the inside, it feels confusing. But from God's perspective, it is careful preparation. When something significant is forming beneath the surface, noise becomes a liability. We often misread withdrawal as rejection because we interpret life emotionally before we interpret it spiritually. We assume distance means disapproval. We assume silence means abandonment. But there are seasons when God reduces your environment because the next version of your life cannot survive constant interference. Growth requires space, clarity requires quiet, and protection often looks like distance before it looks like blessing. There is a difference between being alone and being misplaced. When God pulls you away, He is not removing you from love, value, or purpose. He is removing you from environments that no longer fit who you are becoming. Not every space is designed to carry the weight of your next season, and not every relationship is built to handle the maturity that is developing within you. Sometimes God steps in quietly because if He waited until damage was visible, it would already be too late. This matters because influence is subtle. You don't have to be directly discouraged to be delayed. You don't have to be attacked to be distracted. The people around you shape your decisions, your pace, your expectations, and even your obedience. God understands this, which is why He protects destiny by protecting access. He knows that what surrounds you will eventually shape you, and what shapes you will determine where you end up. That doesn't mean the separation is painless. There's a real emotional weight that comes with being pulled away. There are moments when the quiet feels heavy, moments when you wish someone would notice, moments when you wonder why it had to be this way. God does not dismiss that pain. He sees it fully, but He also knows that constant comfort can delay necessary growth, and temporary loneliness is often safer than permanent compromise. In these seasons, something important begins to shift internally. Without constant feedback, you start hearing yourself think. Without external pressure, your convictions become clearer. You begin to notice patterns you ignored before. You recognize which attachments were rooted in purpose and which ones were rooted in fear. The quiet exposes things that noise always covers, and while that exposure can feel uncomfortable, it is also deeply clarifying. This is where discernment develops, not the loud kind, but the steady kind, the kind that helps you recognize when something feels off without needing proof, the kind that teaches you to pause instead of react, to listen instead of explain, to choose alignment over approval. When everything slows down, you are no longer rushed into decisions by expectation. You are guided by awareness instead. There comes a moment in this quiet where strength begins to form. Not visible strength, internal strength. The kind that doesn't need validation to function. The kind that spans even when no one is watching. And that strength changes how you relate to everything. You stop chasing reassurance. You stop over-explaining your direction. You stop shrinking to keep peace. You learn that confidence doesn't come from being surrounded, but from being grounded. Here is the truth that often becomes clear in these seasons. What feels like distance is sometimes the space God needs to finish his work without interruption. That realization changes everything, because once you understand that the quiet is intentional, you stop fighting it. You begin to cooperate with it. You allow the process to do what it was designed to do. And then something else happens. Your expectations mature. You no longer rush outcomes. You become patient with timing. You understand that what comes next must be sustained, not just received. God does not rush what must last. He prepares you for what you are about to carry by strengthening who you are becoming. The pulling away was never about punishment. It was about readiness. When alignment begins to form, it does not arrive loudly. It comes with steadiness, with peace, with clarity. You begin to recognize what belongs in your life without forcing it. You begin to see connections differently. You are no longer impressed by proximity. You value depth over availability. And because of that, you are no longer desperate for what once felt necessary. Moving forward from this season does not require dramatic action. It requires awareness. It requires protecting what has been built in the quiet. It means choosing environments that support growth instead of drain it. It means honoring the clarity you gained instead of returning to what confused you. Progress now comes from intentional decisions, not emotional reactions. And when God begins to reintroduce people, opportunities, and movement into your life, it feels different. It feels aligned, not forced. It feels supportive, not distracting. What enters your life now complements your direction instead of competing with it. The quiet did its work. The foundation is stronger, the vision is clearer, and you are no longer easily pulled off course. So if you find yourself in a season where God has quietly pulled you away, do not rush to escape it. Do not label it as failure. Do not assume you are forgotten. You are being protected. You are being prepared. And what comes next will require exactly the strength, clarity, and discernment that is being formed right now. Nothing about this season is accidental. It is intentional, measured, and purposeful. You are not behind. You are becoming. And when the time comes, what God releases into your life will make sense of the quiet you once questioned.